Hey everyone, Kyle here. So today I'm bringing you a bit of a different video. I got into the closed beta for Smite Tactics, and while I'm definitely not one of the first waves to get into it, it is still in closed beta, and so I figure any number of opinions on the internet about it would be useful for players. So this would be a slightly different video, so just be gameplay. I'm going to go over a little bit about the game. Also, if there are any performance issues or anything, I actually did get a warning pop up when I launched the game with Fraps on that let me know that there is some issues with Fraps in this game and that it does result in performance problems and or crashing. So, if there are performance issues, I will tell you now the only performance issue the game has had so far is whenever you go to this screen, it kind of freezes for a second, but I'm sure that's something they'll work out in time. But we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, anything you see here is subject to change and very much might or most likely will not be in the final release. But this is the version I'm going to talk about now, just so you guys kind of see what's going on. First thing I want to do, though, is jump into my collection here. So far, they only have the Chinese, the Egyptian, the Greek, and the Norse pantheons in the game, as well as some neutral cards. The neutral cards are okay, but we'll get to that in a second. For each one, they also have 2 leaders available at the moment. One thing I do like is that, unlike a game like Duelist, for example, the leader's stats are different based on what they do. For instance, Nuwa can move 2 spaces and is ranged. Ranged cannot attack all across the map. Like in Duelist, they have a 4-space range. And of course, they only receive return damage from other ranged units. But they tend to have a slightly less HP, and I don't know, they're cool. They're usually a little more like on the control side, I feel, than the melee heroes, which usually seem to be pretty aggressive. Almost all of them, except for like Poseidon. Poseidon's a little less aggressive, just in the sense that his ability is more flexible. But we'll worry about that later. This is just a video to go over the basics. So when you make a deck, I'll show you the one I've been playing. I should explain this name. So my leader is Isis, and me and Kira were on a call, and I didn't realize I was on speaker, and I kept talking about Isis, and then it kind of became a joke, and so I apologize. Hopefully no one gets too easily offended about the name. This is purely a joke, because the name was, originally the deck was just called Isis. But when you're making a deck, so you pick 1 or 2 leaders, and you can easily change the leader just by clicking on them. Egypt has 2 ranged leaders, but that's not the point. So obviously you kind of want to look at what was that noise? Interesting, I don't know what that noise was. I haven't seen this one of the Fraps issues they were talking about. But regardless, you first usually will want to pick a leader, because you're going to want to pick the ability you think is going to better suit the style of deck. And to preface this whole thing, I will say right off the bat, there are not a whole ton of cards in the game right now, which is fine. I'm sure they don't want to do huge, giant blobs of cards and then have to worry about balance right off the bat. They just want there to be enough for you guys to play. So the synergies are pretty basic, and the decks are pretty basic at the moment, but the game is actually really fun. But basically, pick a leader. You only can have 2 of anything, of any card, and there's only 20 cards in a deck. Now, one thing that they don't tell you, and I do want you to know in case you decide this is a shot, if a card has a special border, like the snake for Egyptians, or for Greek they have a like a vine growing up the side. If you see something like that, you can only have 1 of that card in your deck. Now, that is not told anywhere. Another problem is, when you go to craft a card, if you right-click on a card, you get a cool little image of it, and you can craft it. I don't know what this level does yet. It's not really explained. There's a lot of mechanics and visual things that aren't fully implemented yet. But regardless, you get to bring up this view. Now, in some games, if you try to craft a card and you already have the limit of the cards you can put in a deck, try to craft it, it'll just straight up tell you, like, you have max of the cards, you don't need to. This game doesn't. So I actually ended up crafting what I thought was a playset of Anubis, and turns out I just wasted about 400 and or sorry, 400. I added the 240 vials for no reason, which is unfortunate. However, I will say that the cards are very generous in how much they give you and how much they craft. A 320 is the most you'll ever pay for anything, is only for uniques. But I do want to get to some weird mechanics, for example. Egypt has a lot of cool afterlife abilities, such as poison random enemy minion when she dies. And then they have things, you see this, target a friendly if it dies from by life of 2 health. So you assume, oh, this is cool. I can have a character that's a cool on-death ability, such as Cirquet or Bastet. And when they die, I'll get their ability and they'll come back. That's fantastic. No. I made the mistake of trying to run that in my deck. And the first time one of them died with this ability on it, they literally don't. The death animation doesn't even happen. They just take the damage, they go to 0 health, and they go back to 2. So the game doesn't register them as actually dying. So this text, I imagine the card's not working as they hope it will. You know, maybe it's not working. Hopefully, it's just not working as designed or intended. I'm sorry. I am talking like a crazy person. Now for my second gripe, and that is 20 card decks, right? There's a problem I have with this. I know they probably don't want to get clumped in with Hearthstone. Whatever. Any card game in this day and age is going to get compared to Hearthstone. But they really need to go to 30 cards. I don't care if they stay at 2 of, but they need to go to 30 cards. And this is why, and I'm going to explain it. Aggro decks are way too consistent because they will always start and or early on draw the things they need to have the really good starts to do a lot of damage. And control decks that need to be able to play minions and removal spells, but also have win conditions later in the game, have to run so top heavy. I consider about 5 plus to be top heavy, and they have to just hope that their draws are good in the early game to combat the aggro. I mean, things like Ward, draw 2 cards. You would want this in a control deck, but there just isn't room. There's nothing in this deck that I feel comfortable removing that won't hurt my matchup against any of the aggro decks. So basically what I'm saying is, unless they want the games to be really, really quick, someone gets blown apart on turn 4 or turn 5 and then move on, sure, they've accomplished that, but I don't personally find that enjoyable. Go ahead and move back here. Speaking of mechanics, so Egypt has a lot of potential cool stuff with the Afterlife ability, and they have cards that resurrect things from your graveyard, but honestly, they don't work as intended. So my Egypt deck is more of just a mid-range, good minions, lots of ranged deck. China has a lot of synergy with items. And 2 mana, put a Crescent Blade in your hand. It's a 0-mana item that does 1 damage to a non-hero enemy, heroes being the actual leader. And then they have the cards that, whenever you play an item, they get +1/+0 and movement +1, things like that. The main deck going around right now is they play an Imperial Archer as soon as possible, after spamming Guan Yu's ability for, a couple turns, and they just blow you apart with the random damage. But it's not super consistent. I don't have much of a problem fighting against it. It's okay. It's an annoying deck just because I don't like any deck where its whole plan is just to do a whole bunch of damage for no reason. Or I shouldn't say no reason. I just don't like decks where their whole thing is mindlessly do damage. I just find that really boring. And that's exactly what almost every Chinese deck is. They even run like this 0/5 that heals your nearby units, but then they use I don't know where the card is. Oh, this one. And then they use Transfusion to make her do a 5/5 range, and it just is really annoying. Same thing goes over for Norse. Almost everyone just plays Odin. You use the +1/+1 to either buff your leader to do more damage to the opponent's leader, and then you use Backstab and Warrior Sigil and Fate, and you just do tons of damage to the opponent. They have lots of cards such as this one that just spawn multiple tokens. They use Mayhem. They do a bunch of random damage. It's just RNG, damage to face, boringness. And the last problem is Greece. Greece has a lot of potential. They have a lot of cards. They have a lot of minions that synergize with playing gods, and they have a lot of gods that are well statted, um, such as things that protect their allies, things that give their allies protection from damage. But they don't have a way once they lose board control to regain board control. They kind of have to just play minions and hope the minions stick and then win you with minions. And so I find that when I run into them on ladder, they're not very hard to beat, and I don't really run into them on ladder. I almost always run into China. I'm basically fighting Chinese item synergy all the time, and then occasionally Norse swarm, and that's about all the ladder is. Items, by the way, I should mention, are basically just spells. Since Smite was originally a MOBA, they just chose item to be their name for non-creatures. Now that we've got that out of the way, I actually have enough favored by a pack. I will say that the packs are about $250 each when you compare the runes, the cost of runes. I believe the math is correct on that. I don't know if it's changed. But they come out to be about $2 and something each if you want to buy the runes, or 300 favor, which you can earn pretty easily. You have a quest log. We're playing as Greek. We're playing as Norse. I mean, another one of these I'm going to do, so I'll go ahead and re-roll. Well, I have a better chance of playing as Greece than Norse, so win 7 games. That's fine with me. As you can see here, there's not a lot of cards in the game. I almost have the full collection, and I haven't spent any money. This is just for me doing my daily quests, and I'm only missing a couple cards here. When you get a pack, here we go. Oh, wait, I should buy one first. 300 favor for a single pack. One thing I don't like is how many little pop-ups they have for things I don't think that matter. This screen doesn't have a lot of animation yet, so you get 5 cards per pack. Again, very Hearthstone-y. You open them up, there you go, you got your cards. Nothing too exciting. I mean, it's card packs. Go to your collection. Of course, they do have the ability to disenchant extras, and you can choose based on what rarities you're okay with disenchanting, and there you go. Like stuff like this, like it just needs to happen. I don't need to pop up for that. Now, I don't know, we still have a little problem there. I'll try to get into a game. I'm currently in Platinum. I played when you first get into ranked. They give you 10 placement matches, and then you get placed after that. I was originally placed in gold, but I've climbed to platinum with my Egyptian deck, which I kind of explained is just a mid-rangey deck. I'll maybe talk about it more in the future when the game is more well optimized for being recorded, but you'll kind of see it as I play. And queue times can be anywhere from instant to 2 minutes, again being closed beta, and people aren't always playing on ranked ladder. So I will go ahead and queue, and when we get in the game I'll talk about it more. Okay, cool. So, we got a match. When you queue, everyone kind of pops into view. Now, one thing is it doesn't tell you if you're first or second. You basically can tell you're going second because you'll have a 4th card here. This opening hand is fantastic, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. Now, the mechanic they have for when you go second is you get an extra card in your hand. That's basically the coin. 0 mana, gain 1 extra mana this turn. And it counts as an item, which is one of the issues that the game has, because basically that's one of the reasons why Chinese item synergy is so prevalent, because people can just get a free item once in a while. Maps also have unique mechanics. I'm going to go ahead and end my turn so this guy's going to have to sit here and wait while I talk. This map, for example, its mechanic is there are these urns, and when you break them, they give you items. One of 2. One of them is 0 mana, give a friendly plus 3 health, I believe it is. It's 2 or 3. The other one is 0 mana, give a friendly plus 1 attack. And these items are permanent once you equip them. And whenever you pop one of these pots, it goes straight into your hand, and there you go. So it's usually nice early to put a little bit of resources into popping these, or to pop them strategically when you need to do some trading with your opponent. Normally, fighting a melee guy like this, I would move forward and hit him, but I kind of want to stay far away from him. I want to start breaking these pots, try a different strategy. Since Norse, as I had told you earlier, is pretty swarmy, early on in the game you want to get Bestet out, because you can start... I shouldn't have attacked that one. He's going to pop it. Because when Bestet dies, she spawns 3 1/1 cat tokens, and those help us deal with all the 2/1s and 1/1 tokens that Norse decks want to put on the field. Yeah, see, so there I made the mistake of not attacking the one next to me, and so I basically gave him an item, which was unfortunate. At least I could have hit him, but oh well. Let's go into 4 mana, 2/3. Fenrir. So Fenrir's cool. When he has not, he is. If Fenrir has not attacked when your turn ends, he gains +2/+2. Oh, so I guess he's always a 4/5. I hadn't really thought about that. Luckily, we drew a removal spell, so we will be able to deal with him. And Isis, her ability is gives somebody protect 1, and what that means is they take 1 less damage. I would put that on Bestet, but clearly since this is 4 damage, she would die anyways, so there is no point in doing it. But I am going to have to go ahead and attack here, and then use Magma Slam to finish him off. And a lot of sounds and animations aren't quite up to snuff yet. When you click on cards, they kind of just happen. There's not really a sound to let you know it's been accepted. This is all stuff that I assume they're going to deal with in time. Right now, I feel like they just mainly want to get all the factions into the deck, or into the game, before they worry about that stuff. Now, that was a good turn for me. The fact that he was just forced to use some damage spells on just minions. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Alright, so Neith would be a good play here. 4/4 ranged, and when she hits an enemy, they get rooted in place. That is a fantastic card. I want to play her defensively, so I'm going to move, shoot this pot to get the free item piece. We got the +2 health. I love that. I'm going to put it right on me, since this deck is aggressive, and I'll play Neith behind me in order to hopefully keep her from getting as dealt with, as roughed up. Now, unlike Duelist, another problem I have with this game, in Duelist, diagonals were important because things only move 2 spaces. So if you want to protect a unit, you could put it diagonally so your opponent could move 2 here or 2 here. It couldn't necessarily attack it. But in this game, a lot of stuff can move 3, such as this general here. Usually melee things move 3 and range things move 2. And this creates an issue where as much as you want to be able to protect things, melee units can just kind of run over and smack them up. Now, I'm not sure why he played Thor here, because Thor just dies to Neith. Oh, and he conceded. Right? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and find another game. While I'm queued, I will say that's another example of stuff that's not implemented yet. When someone concedes or you win, it just kind of quietly zooms in on your units, and then it tells you what happened. So, I do, again, forgive stuff like that. It's something that I assume before they go into open beta, at least, they'll probably touch up. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So we're going first again, so I don't want to hold on to Osiris. Osiris is a card that is potentially... Oh, I got him anyways. Is a card that is potentially cuttable in this deck, but for now, I'm holding him in. I'm fighting another ranged leader, and so I don't want to trade damage with her for no reason. I'm actually going to stay where I'm at, I believe. Yeah, so this map in particular doesn't really have any interesting mechanics to speak of. I mean, it does have these 4 pillars, but honestly, they don't do too much. Again, because things can move 3 spaces, little pillars like this don't really do a lot, in my opinion. They're still just a thing that's kind of in the way. My opponent trading damage with me means one of 2 things. Either they're kind of a newer player, or there's somebody who plans something aggressive. But since I'm about to play a 3/3 onto the field, and she doesn't have anything, I'm going to be okay trading damage with her here, just to try to fear her a little bit more. Okay, well, she got Magma Slam from my deck. Wow, okay. That's annoying. And we have nothing to do, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn here. Again, this is the problem with the control decks, like I was saying, is if you want to play like a mid-rangey control anything deck, you get stuck in a situation where you just have to accept that a lot of times you're probably not going to draw cards you want. I'll trade damage with her here. Now that we have Jeb in hand, I don't mind trading damage, especially since he does have the ability, because he basically heals you for 3. Since it's just gain 3 health, it doesn't matter what health you start at, you can still gain 3. There is no max amount of health you can have. Which I do like. I think that's cool, that it's just a number that you can boost up whenever you want. Our opponent's slightly lower than us, they're in gold, but that shouldn't be, that doesn't necessarily be an easy game. I mean, I was in gold, not even 5 games ago. find it curious that she moved towards me. Ah, I see. She is. Now this unit, I feel she should have dealt with a different way. Because by putting that buff on it now, where its attack equals its health, I don't believe that scales every single turn, which makes it easier for me to deal with her. So I'm going to go ahead and play with Cyrus here. I would like to play him where he can tether both of these units, but I just don't have that luxury right now, because I do want to move away a little bit, being a ranged character. Now, what Osiris says is he tethers all adjacent enemies, and basically, if they leave a space that are no longer adjacent to him, the tether breaks and that unit becomes stunned. Stunned units not only can't act until their next turn, but they also will not return damage when attacked. So, good to know. Oh, that's a good beast for her to spawn. Her deck seems to have a lot of, like, kind of RNG-ish cards. She drew a random card from my deck. She summoned a random beast. She's going full item synergy, it would seem. This is another very common card in the Chinese decks because it gets +1 health every turn, and so you use the card that makes their attack equal their health, which is straight out of Hearthstone. This is another very common card in the Chinese decks because it gets +1 health every turn, and so you use the card that makes their attack equal their health, which is straight out of Hearthstone, and you make a decent statted minion. Ended her turn. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and execute this 4-5, get it off the field. What else are we going to do? I guess we'll play Sarkette. I'll play her here. Go ahead and attack the enemy general. As we're starting to get headway, and she's down to 3 cards. So I'm not too worried about it. We'll say Egyptians, it's Greece technically has like the best statted minions, I think. But the issue, like I said, is they just don't have much control. So it's not super useful. I don't see them a whole lot. This is another good thing about the stealth mechanic. So her ability makes a 2-mana space that creates a stealth cloud, and stealth just means that unless a unit you control moves into an adjacent space and spots the unit can't be targeted by anything. It's a pretty decent mechanic. I'm a fan of it. So I think my plan here will be to kill her minion, of course, because we don't want her to have that. And then I want to play Jeb in Bastet. So I'm going to go ahead and move closer. Smack her. Kill this minion. I'm going to play Jeb between us and go ahead and give more health to my unit here. And I'll play Bastet above me and just kind of try to encircle my opponent a little bit. I have another Jeb in my hand, so I can give myself health later if I really need to. That's the card. Normally, I would wait till she plays an item on it before I execute it, but I don't want to wait for her to buff it and get an attack off next turn. Some players make the huge misplay of putting items on that card the instant they summon it, and while it does save the mana next turn, against Egypt, like she's doing right now, I would never do that, because all people do is hit it with execute. Although, she did very intelligently play her into a stealth cloud, making it very hard for me to get to her. Yeah, I don't think I have any way actually to reveal her this turn. Does moving here count? It does not. Okay. Head and do 5 to our opponent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so we can't kill her yet. I'll play Anor up here. Move jab in. And then I'll use my ability to put protection onto Bastet so that she can hit our opponent without really worrying about the recoil. And I'm not really too worried about her killing me. Yeah. If anything, we're just threatening her quite fiercely right now. Also, if you noticed, it wasn't letting me play Jeb. Another thing they don't explain to you, and I feel like this bothers me, is you can't have two of the same god on the field. I understand the reasoning behind it, but since almost every useful minion in the game is a god, it's really annoying when you can't have two. Because, again, it's just a problem. You can't stack their effects or anything like that. And it just makes it harder for decks to work consistently. Okay, well, I'm glad she didn't put her behind cover, because execute is exactly what I want to do here. We can use Jeb to take this guy out. Do I want to... What else do I do with my mana today? Okay, let's go ahead today. Right now. Let's go ahead and give him protection, just so he takes a little bit less damage from our opponent here. The main reason is because it'll put him at 2 instead of 1, meaning that next turn, Nuwa can't just kill him outright with her ability. And I want to hit Nuwa with... She moves 3? 1, 2, 3. Actually, I think we can kill her this turn if I do Magma Slam. Yeah. This should be game. There we go. So she got spotted. And we can hit her for the 4 damage, and we're all set. So you get the basics of how the game works. It's very fun. I enjoy it. I see a lot of potential here. It just needs to have a lot of the loose ends fixed up, which, again, closed beta, I'm sure that's something they're going to do. Hi-Res might not be the most famous studio, but they're definitely not noobs at making games. Smite, I thought personally, was pretty fun. The only gripes I have are minor when it comes to the game design. For example, like their character models, if they're going to have them on big screens like this, probably should be fixed up a little bit. I mean, you can see the edging on her leg here. Her feet make no sense compared to her body. And she's supposed to be peeking on them, but she's looking this way. Sense compared to her body. And she's supposed to be peeking on them, but she's looking this way. Over at this wall. She's not looking at what's going on here. So there's definitely stuff they could do. Gameplay-wise, the only big gripe I have is the fact that it's 20-card decks, and that limits the possibilities of control decks. It basically makes it so that when you're fighting aggro, you need to have the perfect hand or you lose, because aggro is going to be able to consistently get the best hand. Now, however, if you are attacking against aggro, that means they have the same thing as you. If you start with the right hand to deal with them, you're going to win. But that's the issue. Though in extreme case Magic the Gathering, when they said you had 40 cards and they could have as many number of any cards you wanted, Unreally Degenerate decks came out of that. That was an extreme, and they made it 60 with 4 copies of stuff, because that way you could consistently get cards you wanted, but it wasn't so consistent that the decks had no variance and no excitement to the games. I feel like with 20 cards, it's basically doing that. It's making it so that it really encourages you to run one-ofs of things, which is not necessarily good, and it encourages you to play aggressive decks, because you're usually going to hit the synergies that you want to make your minions do a lot of damage as fast as possible. So right now I would say, would I buy into the closed beta? Yeah. I believe it's $19.99 to buy in. You get all the leaders unlocked. You get one free unique legendary, which I believe is this one right here, which I personally don't like her at all. I actually disenchanted mine. And you get 15 packs, and the packs are pretty generous. I didn't get mine from buying in, I should say, though. I opened her in a pack, but not good. Or maybe I crafted her, I can't remember. I either crafted her or opened her in a pack, but I ended up disenchanting her to make Anubis. But it's okay. If you look at this game now and you don't think, wow, you know what, I can see past the problems, I just kind of want to play it, I would say don't buy in to the closed beta. And by buy in, I mean like literally with money, not like be convinced. Maybe apply for a key, but don't spend the $20 if you're not already dying to play. Give it some time because there are definitely some issues here that like need to be dealt with, and if not, could definitely harm the game. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want to see more tactics, let me know. Obviously, still play Shadowverse, and I'm still playing Elder Scrolls Legends, which I probably will be bringing some content back for because I very much enjoy that game, and I just got a bunch of free stuff in it that I didn't know I had. And yeah, well, see you guys tomorrow.